Hi, my name is Suzanne Fatta. I'm an opera singer and I'm the managing director of Nickel City Opera based here in Buffalo, New York.
And
Hi, I'm Valerian Ruminsky. I'm the general director and founder of Nickel City Opera and all-around opera singer, and I bring the productions to Buffalo.
that's amazing. And you guys are going to cook something wonderful for us today. Tell me
Molto
about
delicioso.
that.
Molto bene.
Oh, and we're going to talk Italian, so that's great. All right, start from the beginning. What are we going to do today?
Okay, today we're making a dish with polenta that I learned when I lived in the northeastern corner of Italy in a little region called Friuli Venezia Giulia. So I'm a very intuitive cook. I don't really follow recipes. I learned this from a little old Friulan lady. So it's hard to put it into amounts and procedures in this wonderful cookbook. So I'm going to start two things at once. I'm going to boil some water and some vegetable stock to get the polenta going, and you have to stir it pretty constantly so you don't get lumps. And at the same time, I'm going to saute some shallots and fresh thyme and then get the mushrooms going. And we're going to deglaze those with, in a perfect world, you would use a northeastern Italian wine, but I thought we could represent Buffalo here with a little bit of Lock House vodka, representing the Western New York, Niagara region. And you could tell Valerian really likes this vodka a lot.
I'm the Igor. I'm here to do the cutting and whatever else she wants me to do.
I prefer half water and half vegetable stock. If you do all vegetable stock, sometimes the flavor is a bit strong and it can blow out the dish. This is a delicately flavored dish, and what you really want to pop is the truffle flavor, not, the basic flavor underneath. So that's how I like to do it, and we just let that come up to a boil. I'm making a smaller amount. Being Italian, I really don't know how to cook for less than, say 10 people at a time. Normally when I cook, there's tons of leftovers, so I'm sitting on my pros, as they say this time, and just maybe making one or two dishes worth.
Good.
So basically, we just wait for that to boil, and in the meantime, I'm going to start the mushrooms.
I'm going to go back into the garden and pull some more vegetables.
Excellent.
Go pick me some produce. I prefer to use olive oil. I almost never cook with anything but olive oil. I don't really use butter. Yeah, olive oil has a more conducive smoking point when it comes to cooking. It's more authentic for Italian food. This is my everyday olive oil. When I want to drizzle raw olive oil for the flavor, then I go for the gold. But for cooking, I find the Wegmans one to be delicious. One trick I learned when I was singing opera in France and went to cooking school there is, if you saute any kind of mushrooms or shallots, you should add salt right at that point, because that actually stops them from burning. You could season it with pepper later, but to put salt in at this point actually helps the onions caramelize longer without burning. I've chosen shallots for this dish, again. Just
In case there's a fire, I'm ready for any eventuality.
Oh, I don't
No,
think,
it's okay. It's safe.
I don't think that thing's up to code. Don't tell
Okay.
anyone. And now I'm going to add just a whole bunch of fresh thyme. There's other herbs you can use. A little bit of tarragon might be nice. It's a strong flavor, but I think it would add to the dish. But fresh thyme is my favorite go-to herb. It goes with pretty much everything. And I think it especially goes well with mushrooms. So that heat's a little high. We can bring that down a bit.
Suzanne is going to be performing in our opera La Traviata, which is going to be at Villa Maria College May 24th and May 26th. And we have a wonderful partnership with Villa Maria, and it's a full orchestra, full chorus, sets, costumes from DC Theatrics. Our 11th season of full grand opera here in Buffalo. So I hope everybody comes, and I hope everybody's going to be able to taste some of this food too. It's really good.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to taste it with their eyes. How's that coming over here?
Good. I definitely need to add more water. I like to get it in there and get it kind of dry, and then add water as I go. This is a dish that specifically calls for soft polenta. You can vary how hard or soft your polenta is quite easily just by varying the ratio of the dry cornmeal to liquid. So to keep it soft, you want a lot of liquid, and I like to add it as I go.
It's
to make
yellow.
sure-
I have seen polenta before, but it's usually white when I
It
see
can be
it.
both, yeah. My personal preference is for the yellow, but you're right, it can also be white. There's not a huge change in flavor. I just think it pops a little more in color when it's yellow.
So you might sing a little bit now?
Yeah, this is an aria from the opera I was studying and performing when I lived in Venice when I learned this dish. It's one of the very earliest operas from around the year 1610 by a composer called Cavalieri, and the name of it is Rappresentazioni di Anima e di Corpo. And my role was the role of consiglio, or counsel. So I'm like a heavenly ideal who comes down to kind of tell the people in the opera how to behave better. La nostra vita in terra altro non è che guerra, caspri nemici intorno, ci sta la notte e il giorno, e con arte inganno spesso cader ci fanno. Whoa.
Brava!
Selection.
That was wonderful.
I didn't even
Where is he?
That was so beautiful. It brings tears to my
Make me
eyes.
cry.
Ooh. Ooh.
My dog even likes it, and
That
I
was
didn't even warm up.
Spectacular. Oh my God.
So that's an idea of what a very low-voiced lady sounds like as well.
Wow.
That was a baritone lead role I had in Venice.
The kitchen has great acoustics for that, so.
Honey Bear, shush!
Tell me where we're at.
So the
gorgeous.
mushrooms are roasting up. Another thing you could do, which is a lot less work, is just to roast them on the very top shelf in the oven, but that doesn't show on film very well. They come out a little more flavorful actually when you oven roast them. But this way I have exact control over how they cook and how they taste.
Polenta roasting on an open fire. Mushrooms nipping at your nose.
Is that what did it? Is that what got my nose? It was the
Got my eyes watering. I'm just so...
It's also beautiful. I'm moved.
I'll be moved to move a knife and a fork once I get started.
Okay, so June 1st and 2nd.
Wait, start again.
June 1st and 2nd, the BPO, the Buffalo Philharmonic, our Grammy-winning international superstars, are doing Carmen, which is one of the most famous operas of all time. It's very well represented in our Operalicious cookbook. There's a lot of wonderful Spanish, like I think there's a paella recipe specifically for Carmen. There's a Carmen menu. If you wanted to celebrate the opera, you could make a couple of the different dishes. And Valerian will have a role when the BPO produces it in early June.
Na 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 na. That's a little bit of Carmen right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's always more room for a little bit of cheese. I don't like to add butter or cream to my polenta. Some people do that. I find that to be unnecessary. I mean, look how beautiful and creamy it is naturally. You'll notice, by the way, I've been using a whisk the entire time with the polenta, and especially as I poured the dry polenta meal in, I was whisking it. This is so it doesn't get lumps. I don't think it's the worst crime in humanity if there's a couple lumps in there, the way my grandmother would flip out if there were lumps in her gravy. But it definitely helps to use the whisk. Just give it that tap at the end so all the goodness is out.
I'm ready with the knife. What do I have to cut?
Let's see, now which operas end in knives? Carmen? What other operas end with a... Oh!
Rigoletto. Rigoletto.
There's a lot of themes in operas that
Yes.
you will see repeating. I love little individual egg pans, but we're going to do little heart-shaped eggs today just to make it extra special. And a real low heat. Because as I'm sure many of your readers know, eggs cook very quickly. And then while that's warming up, I'm actually ready to start plating up. So we do a nice big dollop or two. I like to put it on the side so you have this nice pretty visual, but you could cover the top. You could even stir it in. But I like this presentation like this. And another trick I learned, a good way to season both sides of the egg, is to put salt and pepper in the pan before you crack the egg, so that the bottom side is seasoned as soon as it hits the pan.
You really enjoy cooking, it looks like.
I'm that typical Italian kid. I grew up on a stool in all my grandmother's and my great-grandmother's kitchen. I do sometimes go awry at this point.
I think it's brave of you to try.
If there's anyone I can trust to flip an egg, it's Suzanne.
You have to come in right at that minute. And yet, I triumphed.
It's
Yay!
beautiful.
There we go.
Woohoo!
It's not loving. And see, it's already properly seasoned on the other side because I put the salt and the pepper in the oil. So that egg is perfectly ready to rock. I put some fresh arugula right along the rim. Again, so some of the polenta showing. And here comes the magic moment. And everyone can decide if they like a very runny yolk, a very hard yolk. I like it kind of medium runny because, of course, it breaks into the dish and produces.
The more the yolk is running, the more it sweats. So you have to watch out. You don't want a sweaty yolk.
And there.
Brava!
I'm just gonna take care of that little ding dong right there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Then I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of truffle salt. Like I said, it's really better if you use truffle paste, truffle carpaccio, truffle sauce or something like that, but we're going to do a slightly more economical version. And then I love truffles, so I'm going to go town and really drizzle it on there. This is another reason I don't like to add too much fat to the polenta, because I'd rather add it in the form of truffle oil.
No one likes a fat polenta.
And that's the
Fat
truth.
polentas, those polentas have to go on a diet.
Oh, if you guys could smell this.
Oh, it's heaven.
Do you smell the
I can
smell
smell
the
it from
truffle?
here. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Heaven,
right.
I'm in heaven. When I smell your cooking, I can hardly speak.
We just rather eat it.
Best day ever is all I got to say.
That is it. That is Friulan polenta with wild sauteed mushrooms, a fried egg, arugula, and any number of truffle essences you want to add.
Excellent.
Now
Okay.
it's my time to eat it.
It sure
Who
is.
said you could eat it?
With my bare hands.